May the words of my lips and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Amen. Have you ever gone to someone to bring good news, only for them to find bad news in it? Imagine a young child has brought a present for a parent and brings it up to them, their face beaming with pride and anticipation. "Look, I brought you a present," the child says. How might the parent reply? Imagine the parent's first reply is, "Why did you go to the shops on your own? You're far too young and you should be accompanied." Is this caring concern, or a little mean and ungrateful that this is the first thing they think of? This is a little how our reading from Acts began. The apostles in Jerusalem hear news from Peter in the pagan city of Caesarea that the good news about Jesus Christ was spreading and that the Gentiles had believed the word of God. Peter seems to have been summoned to Jerusalem. How do you think he might be feeling? I wonder if he felt flutters of excitement to bring the good news of how God was working. The reply of the apostles is not, "How is it that even the Gentiles believe? How did God bring this about?" No, Peter first gets a telling off. "Why did you go to the uncircumcised men and eat with them?" In other words, why did you break the ritual law? Their first concern was what Peter had done wrong, or at least how he had behaved unconventionally. How can we understand this apparent meanness? We have to remember that the apostles were members of a minority ethnic and religious group living under occupation by a series of successive empires. To preserve their national identity under such circumstances and not to be swallowed up into the great mass of Roman paganism, they had to cling to the ritual law that gave them their distinctiveness. A little pork here, a little Sabbath breaking there, and their culture could crumble. Peter is therefore on the spot to defend his actions, and his culture's existence is at stake. Carefully, point by point, Peter explains 4 things that have happened. Explains why he broke the ritual law. First of all, he received the vision of the animals. Peter was praying on the roof when he saw a vision of all kinds of animals, the ones he was meant to eat and the ones he was not meant to eat, coming down from heaven on a sheet. And God commanded him to eat any of them. Peter refused, for he had never broken the food laws. 3 times God commanded him to eat, and 3 times Peter refused. And then the sheep vanished back up to heaven. Even while Peter was thinking about what it might mean, the answer was given to him. Peter retold what had happened, and the second point to his reply to the apostles as to why he had eaten with the Gentiles. 3 men came from Caesarea asking for Peter by name, and still thinking about the vision, Peter heard the Holy Spirit tell him to go with them. Prompted by the Spirit, Peter invited them in. Yes, he invited Gentiles into his house and let them stay the night. Peter's third point about why he had eaten with Gentiles was that the next day he had gone with the 3 men and entered the house of the Roman centurion Cornelius. So Peter has let Gentiles into his house, and a Gentile, a Roman soldier nonetheless, let Peter into his house. Cornelius, who probably already worshipped the Jewish God rather than the pagan gods, shared that he too had a vision of the Holy Spirit, also while praying, and that he had received supernatural knowledge about who Peter was and where he was staying. Peter had a vision about being allowed to do what kept him away from Gentiles, and he was prompted by the Spirit to let Gentiles into his house. Cornelius had a vision about meeting Peter, and he was prompted by the Spirit to let Peter into his house. But it does not stop at reciprocal hospitality. In the fourth and final point of Peter's explanation, he tells of how he preached a gospel message to Cornelius and his household, and the Spirit fell on all who heard. Whatever this was, it was a similar experience to that of the apostles on Pentecost. So, Peter, why did you go to the uncircumcised men and eat with them? Well, replied Peter, I had a vision of a sheet of animals. I was told by the Holy Spirit to go with 3 Gentiles who came to see me. I met a centurion who had a vision which gave him supernatural knowledge about me. And when I preached the gospel, a second Pentecost occurred in a Gentile household. And how did the apostles react to this? When they heard this, they were silenced. Peter holds his breath. And they praised God, saying, Then God has given even to the Gentiles the repentance that leads to life. How did the apostles go from criticizing Peter to praising God? Notice how they started talking about human actions. Peter eating with Gentiles, and then saw the divine action within that. The Holy Spirit was the invisible actor driving the story, working in Peter, working in Cornelius to bring the two together. Notice how Peter is playing catch-up all the time, barely having time to process one event before the other is upon him. Peter is not in the driving seat here, and the other apostles, back in Jerusalem, the center of things, you might think, are one step further behind him. Meanwhile, the real cutting-edge action is going on at the edges, in the most unlikely of houses, the house of a Roman centurion. At St. Catherine's, Burbage, where is our centre and where are our edges? Where is God most at work today? And might we be surprised at this? Is God most at work in what we might consider as some of our core activities? Or might he be doing something new in the life of the church, somewhere more loosely connected with what we think we are all about? The apostles most certainly were surprised by Peter's story. Hearing God at work in the lives of Cornelius and his household expanded their awareness of God. They came to see that God was even more generous than they had thought. This expansion came about as a result of an experience of God, in the case of Peter, or as a result of hearing about an experience of God, in the case of the apostles. When we truly experience the action of God in our lives, it always expands our understanding of him. And God is love, so it is hardly surprising that an expanded understanding of God would be identical to a deepening appreciation of his radical grace. Amen.